Hey, welcome to the Curious is Better podcast. I'm Craig Lamb again with Innovative, and today I have an old work friend. So with a bunch of years, a bunch of projects, Jun Tao from Cytiva Life Sciences. Welcome, Jun. Thanks for joining. Why you've been in a number of roles and things have changed a lot. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Sure. Happy to be here, Craig, and appreciate the invite. So I'm Jun Tao, Director of Digital Software Engineering at Cytiva, which is part of Danaher. And in Cytiva, we operate in the life science space, focusing on the providing tools, technologies, and services to the biotech and biopharma sectors. So historically, very hardware and process driven, but we have a deep domain expertise in the manufacturing, filtration, and bioprocessing.
Yeah. That's really one of the reasons I wanted you on as a guest too, because you've been up and down in tech, hardware, software, all of it. And you worked with Innovative for software delivery, and you've seen stuff from a bunch of different angles, right? You've managed internal teams, you've worked with outside partners like ourselves, and like maybe you could talk about how there's been changes maybe over the last handful of years and how you handle that, like with leaner teams, agile, working with outside partners like us, and then challenges and how you deal with some of those things.
Yeah. So one big shift I have been seeing in the, like Sativa large organization, I have been 80 years. All those things moving away, we are moving away from the thinking in terms of fixed capacity, like headcount or static teams. And we're moving toward more like flexibility and outcomes. So in the past, success was often measured by, hey, how much you could building internally, right? But
Mm-hmm.
today is much more about how fast can you adapt, right? As you mentioned, in big organization, changing often, priority changing quickly, especially with things like nowadays AI, regulatory pressure, or supply chain dynamics. And those models need to be supporting that. So instead of choosing between, we have been say, hey, we can build in-house or outsource. Organization is become more intentional about forming more like delivery ecosystems. So where internal teams can focus on the core capability and like partner like Innovative can helping for accelerate where we need. So the key change is more like a mindset.
Yeah.
It's no longer who owns the work, right? But how do we can deliver value faster without losing control of qualities and knowledge? Yeah.
Yeah, and not being so rigid, right? Dynamic between that internal and external. I'm teeing this up because I think I know the answer already. But so, what does a good delivery partner look like? Even if it's an internal delivery partner or external or like an outsourced delivery partner, is it having the ability to be dynamic like that to be able to?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Actually, as collaboration between Sativa and Innovative, we have been doing different model, and also we are evolving all the time. We have been, before say, hey, this is the SOW, this is all the scope work you get done, and we validating, verify the quality, all those things. So those more like, hey, we're outsourcing completely or we're building everything in-house. But the same we have been doing is like, oh, maybe we can collaborating together, right? Both team can be we have our in-house team to be able to maintain all those core value or knowledge, domain knowledge for bioprocessing, and your team's providing all those like technical delivery, how we can, building all those things together. We have shared goals can be moving. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked last week about this very thing. It's like we're at the point now where your teams and our team, we could talk about how we're doing different things, using different tools, how to accelerate the delivery process. And I think that that's so cool that, where you'd think that maybe at this, maybe not, but like, there's some kind of, invisible fence between the teams. It's like, I'm internal, you're external, but that's not how things are going now. Everybody's kind of blending because you're working to get that job done, which I think is a great evolution of relationships of outsourced partners and internal teams. Jun, you said something just a couple minutes ago too, is that a lot of companies that you're dealing with now, they don't just want hardware anymore, right? They're expecting data integrations, visibility and control, a whole digital experience. How do you think that the customers for Cytiva have evolved and have had that expectation? Because you and I have always been in engineering, and we used to be backroom guys. It's like, well, the engineers will deal with it. When it goes to delivery, then it goes through sales, and it's a whole other process. But now the visibility is far more important, right? Why,
Yep.
why do you think that's happened?
So this is probably one of the biggest transformations we have been seeing across industries. Customer no longer just say, "Hey, I'm buying the hardware," but they expecting more like, "Where's the data? How you can integrate it into their ecosystem?" And
Mhm.
where's the visibility and control? Especially nowadays, we say, "Oh, we have some AI feature," but they also want some very visibilities and control, especially when you're in the regulatory industries. They
For sure.
asking a lot of visibilities and controls. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it becomes very precise too, especially in the highly regulated areas in life sciences in particular, right?
Hmm.
The regulations are high, and it can
Yeah.
get very challenging.
Exactly. I mean, the success is not say, "Hey, we only wanted a product alone," and also they want to say, "Where's experience around the product?" Right? Especially for like Sativa and other hardware focused organization, that means that you need to be, building software capability, right? Thinking in terms of platform instead of only say a one product, and also you need to continuously delivering value after the sale because for example like SaaS software. So if customer subscribe it, you commit to continuous delivering value on it from time to time, not
For
like
sure.
the hardware is just selling and maybe you're selling some service plan to them. So it's not a simple shift because especially for a hardware company, you require different skills, right? Different operating models and different mindset. That's why we also collaborating with partners, so the partner can bring in all those skills, from the different operation models.
Hmm.
So it's also being a huge opportunity because software and data allowing you to creating ongoing engagement and making the differentiations in way like hardware alone cannot do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we know this on some projects we've worked on too, right? The
Yeah.
software has to keep evolving to support what the hardware. It's almost like the hardware. It's gotten to an expectation of like, of course it does A, B, and C, right? That's what we bought.
Yeah.
But what are the differentiators and what are those accelerators like access to data, or if there's AI functionality could be added, or how does it integrate to my ERP or my other subsystems and things like that to make it even stronger and faster? It's an interesting dynamic. And I also think too, though, on the upside is that customers are committed to that. Where before it's like you buy a piece of software, you put the CD and you install it, and if you outgrow it, you go buy something new. Now they want it cultivated, right? It's just like evolve with us. So there's opportunity there for a lot of
Yep.
companies like us or in tech. As long as you listen to the customer and you listen to the industry, you have an opportunity to evolve your hardware and your software to keep those customers so they don't
Yep.
go looking somewhere else. You and I had a conversation last week specifically about cost reductions, how to move faster, simplify things as far as design and visibility. You and I were talking about AI tools and how
Yep.
to do that, help with testing and development. So, how do you see what do you see the priority of the emergence of those tools in engineering? Now, I want to qualify that because I happen to not be a huge fan of all these people that are out there vibe coding using Claude to try to create some software and think it's production ready, ready to scale. But I am a big fan of using AI tools to make engineers better, right? That they can handle more, they can test more comprehensively, they can plan better, they can fitness test their work better. Um, how do you see those tools getting introduced to your teams and the importance of those in say the next 2 years?
Yeah, that's big change for the organization, especially like software engineering. Nowadays all they talking about AI, how they can being automate coding, testing, all the things they can do. It's also being causing a lot of confusing about team, right? For example, when you introducing all those tooling, say, hey, we have Copilot, we have Cursor, Cloud, and the first reaction is like a lot of senior engineers say we may not be able to put it into those production repo or sensitive repos. So number one is governance, right? How you can be step by step, from especially also for the engineers. Different people may have different flavor about the AI. So we have different like change management be involving. So bring the awareness and they can desire, say, oh, they can see the value and they can trying to say, okay, then maybe we can try. And also we're providing all those knowledge training to let them have capability to using the AI tools. So those some process we have been collecting, and also we are tracking like I mean things changing dramatically like month by month. You can see
Yeah, for sure.
how like AI usage. We can see some dashboard insights say, oh, in last month maybe 50% of people using daily, and now if you're looking at now maybe 60 or 70% of people using it. So but also how they are using it, what's the value. I think the key challenge is the measurement. A lot of people, when they heard about AI, say, "Oh yeah, AI is great. They can do a lot of things. They can almost can do anything." But when organization introducing AI, the leadership always asking, right? How can you measure its success, right? So it's our, we also try to quantify that based on the data we're showing, something process can be, improved. Something may not be improved because of, may causing more time to reviewing the code because the automatically generating by the AI. So that's those measurement we always be doing and keep doing it, monitoring, and also from the return of investment from the AI we have been doing for the
Yeah.
toolings.
Yeah, we're lucky though too, is in a sense that all of the engineers that are using these different tools, we're using training data that is our syntax, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
using our own repos, the work that we've done, and using language models to help us accelerate those things, either refactoring or testing, whatever. But it's funny is that when people talk about these tools, and maybe people will get lost in this conversation because if it's too technical, but it's like even if you look at things like Claude or ChatGPT that are out there now for people that are vibe coding, there's a degradation. It gets dumber, right, as you go down these
Mm-hmm.
rabbit holes because the contributions are from people that are not engineers, or there's not a rigid process, or there's not a an architecture to follow. So the whatever code they're creating, or the responses you get from these LLMs, they just start getting dumber and dumber and dumber. We're isolated, right? We're using our
Yep.
own repositories, so that's a good thing. Because I don't know if you hear it, I hear it all the time too. Is like it feels like ChatGPT is getting dumber by the day, and I'm like, well, where do you think it's getting its data inputs from?
Yeah.
Dumb people doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, what are you excited about for, like, say, the next year, 18 months, as far as the technologies and things that are going on in Cytiva that are going to help you push the stuff that you're exposed to and learning? Not projects so much, but as far as different pieces of technology that you're on the lookout for and that you're excited to see kind of emerge into our industry.
Yes, so especially for our life science and biotech, you probably hear a lot of news, heard a lot of news about the drug discovery, right? Nowadays using the, modeling large, amount of data modeling to helping for the drug discovery, which is a very, innovative for to finding all those new drug can cure some disease. And in our organization, we also helping our customer, right? From the beginning of stage, say from drug discovery, then you go to the clinical trials and how we can speed the process, making the high quality, and also the after FDA approved, right? Then we go to market, how we can scaling up, right? Manufacturings, and even though after you deliver to the customer, so those things very exciting. Can see all the technology can be making more safer and also make it faster, and COVID is just one example, right? So normally it take like 10 years for all those approval, but during pandemic how fast it can react. And I believe the new technologies coming definitely can improve much, much more. But also, causing more challenges, right? I saw some articles regarding FDA say, hey, we have a lot of documentations they submitted, but AI generated so many errors. I know documentation, will spend most of time for them, especially for all those compliance they have been doing. But those are challenges like how we can keep up with the technology pace to make sure all those things, be compliant and can be, safe for especially for those biotech
Yeah.
manufacturings. Yeah,
Well, that's kind of an unwanted side effect of some of these AI tools. It's created laziness in some of those areas, right? When you talk
yeah,
about documentation riddled with errors, it's just like, well, it generated, it's all good, and then no one's actually putting their eyes on it. Shame. You know,
exactly.
actually to that point too, June. Before we run out of time, it's like, you know, I don't forget. I have a full appreciation for how complex your role is and all the different things that you touch. And I wonder, like, if someone was listening right now that's leading a software organization or a technical team as complex as yours, what's one thing that you'd want them to take away from this conversation, your experiences? Like, what are the things that they could look at or look for in their own world that should be something to be considered?
Yes. So especially nowadays, we're facing a lot of challenge, from, a lot of company, especially for those Silicon Valley company, right? They have reorg, they have tighter budget, they have higher expectation because of the AI. So the pressure is a lot. But the same, you also need to be, especially for some area, you need to see foundational and highly specialized area. For example, our company, we have domain knowledge specific for bioprocessing.
Yeah,
So you still need a depth of expertise, right? For especially like AI, because those depths of expertise can be maximize the power of AI. And also, if you over optimize some, say, hey, cutting the cost on certain area, you often pay for it later, right? Rework, slower delivery, or technical debt. So the balance, I would say, you should be using global scale efficiency when needed, makes sense. But also, you need to protect and invest the core competencies that differentiate your business, right? And also, I know, you know,
yeah,
that's a lot of things to do, but you can't do everything, right? So number one, clarity of priority is very important. So being very clear about what matters most is critical. And then you, the ability to building your adaptable teams, right? The ability to pivot quickly is become more important than optimizing a fixed plan. And the last one, as you just mentioned, don't losing the long-term views, right? Even though, say, we are in the cost-focused environment, but you still need to invest in capabilities will matter in next 2-3 years. We always say preparing for future, right? Especially around the digital and AI, because ultimately transformation is not a one-time initiative because it will be continuous process for us.
yeah. It's digital transformation, then evolution.
Yes.
Right? You know, that I think that's really great advice. As you were talking, it kind of harkened back to me. It's like, I don't know if you remember like the .com boom and crash of like the early 2000s, right? It's like every company invested in some web app tool, some version, some SaaS build, whatever. So it was completely saturated, said it was the way of the world. It corrected so many things. It was cheaper to distribute. It was cheaper for companies to own software, maintain software, scale software, all these things. And then it's like, oh, maybe we were wrong. I wonder if that's what it's like with this current round of AI tools. Like everybody subscribes it. They've convinced C-suites that it's cheaper, faster, better, without uh, beyond reproach. Right? It's the best. But that's not true. There's a lot of things to consider. Right? It's like you said too, is if you over optimize using these tools, you have to use economies globally when they make sense. Still invest in structured engineering practices, right? And then keep in mind what is the priority and what's the most important thing.
Exactly. I mean, expectation, especially from the customer, from everyone. Their expectations is so high nowadays,
Yeah.
but nobody can, guarantee you can match all those higher expectation because how much investment all the companies been doing, but not every company can getting all those
Yeah,
fully
this
return.
is a little off topic, but do you think it's because the emergence of different software providers and even hardware providers, the cycle's so fast is that if you don't meet expectation to 100%, someone else is making promises like 10 seconds later that they can fix all of these things. And even if they fail, there'll be another one and then another one and another one. And then we exhaust these things because we've lost sight of what's really important, on our roadmap and our trajectory. Rather than working through something, it's like, well, I'll just take the next option. And now you've invested 10x in trying these less thans forever until you can get to the right thing.
Yeah, that's a very good example for hardware company, right? If you're looking at revenue generated by our software, that's very minimal, compared to the
Right.
hardware.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, you can say, hey, let's focus on hardware only. But nowadays, the differentiation your value is not only the hardware anymore, it's the digital around the product you're providing to the customer. The customer willing to buy another product, hardware product, because of the service, because of the easy integration into their the ecosystem, well, making the big difference. And we have a lot of good stories, success story in our company. The digital product trigger like 20%, 30% of the hardware sales. That's the trend nowadays.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation, June. I appreciate it. And I appreciate still working with Innovative. Cytiva is a huge partner for us and big fans of your team.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
we built. Um, Again, this is Jun Tao from Cytiva Life Sciences. Thank you very, very much for being on the Curious is Better podcast today.
Thank you.